Alright, since the eyes and the skin are taken care of, let's go ahead and close up this group and get right onto the eyeshadow. So we'll create a new layer, and we're going to call it eyeshadow. And all we're going to do is go to our brush tool, and we're going to size it up with the right bracket. We'll make it pretty big. And if you don't know what the right bracket is for whatever reason, you can always just go up here and type in the size of your brush and all that good stuff. And all you're going to do is paint in black around his eye and a little bit of his cheek, paint in around the other eye and a little down his cheek. And yes, I know this looks retarded and not very convincing, but we'll make this look nice. So go ahead and change the blend mode to overlay. That should be your favorite by now. And that looks a little bit ridiculous, so we're going to go back to the effects and give it a color overlay. And once again, we're going to make it black, and we're going to change that blend mode to overlay as well. And hit OK, and close that up, and then change the opacity to about maybe 36%. And that should look like it's a little bit more shadowy than the rest of his face. But we don't want that much shadow. We want to get rid of it so that it's only under his eyes and maybe a little bit above it. So we're going to give it a layer mask. You should be used to this by now. I'm going to zoom in and size down the brush with the left bracket key. We're going to paint in black. Remember, you got black down here in the left hand corner. And we're going to just clean up over here and clean up over there. And make sure you don't have any black stuff in his hair. Whoa, what was that? That was an accident. Swap that around. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but it was kind of weird. So we're gonna go back up here, paint in some black to get rid of that shadow. And that's looking pretty decent right there. So if you turn this layer on and off for before and after, maybe we'll get rid of a little bit more right here. Do before and after. We've got some in his hair right there. Before and after. And that's looking pretty good. Oh, I actually forgot. We don't want this black to be covering his eyes. If you're paying attention to the before and after, you're actually making his eyes a little bit darker. And we don't want to do that, so we'll size down our brush with the left bracket and zoom in a lot. And we're going to kind of start getting rid of that in the eye. Oops, I accidentally overlapped the eyelid a little bit, so I'm going to swap that to white and go back over it to bring back the shadows. And that's looking pretty good right there. So we'll go ahead and go over to this eye, do the same thing, swap over to black, and we'll paint in right here. And that's looking pretty decent right there. Alright, so one option that you can take is to have this thumbnail selected and go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we'll just give it maybe a 10 pixel blur, because if you look at this preview and unclick it and just do a little before and after, you can see that with this blur on, it kind of blends with the eyelids a little bit better. You see that? So that's just something that I like to do when it comes to adding the shadows around his eyes. And we'll hit OK and go to our move tool just because it looks more like an arrow. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and zoom out to the canvas size by hitting Control 0 just to get a good look at how things are coming along. The only thing we have left is to add in some fangs under his lips right there. So we'll go ahead and make a new layer, call it Fang, and we'll swap to our pen tool, which is right here, or you can hit the letter P, your call, and we'll zoom in, and we're going to make one anchor point right around here, right above his lip, and we're going to click and drag to make it curve. And depending on how much you want the tooth to curve is how much you're gonna drag it. And then once you think you got a nice curve, go ahead and click across from your first point and drag it a little upwards, and then click back here. And as you can see, we've got a little bit of an outline of a tooth going here. So we're going to right click and make a selection, and we don't want the feather radius to be anything besides 0, so just type in 0 there. Anti-aliased is good, and new selection, and hit OK. And then we're going to fill this up with white with Shift backspace, and we're going to use whites. Hit OK. And then we'll deselect with Control D or Command D if you're on a Mac. And that's pretty good. And we need another one of these, so we're just going to duplicate it with Control J or Command J if you're on a Mac. And we're going to hit V, and we're going to move it over. And we're going to hit Control T or Command T to bring up the transform tool. And you see where it says width 100%, we're just going to click in front of the 100% and put the minus sign so that it flips it around. And then if you want, you can go ahead and turn the fang a little bit and position it a little bit differently and check mark it. And this fang right here, we're going to go ahead and turn as well. And we'll use the arrow keys to move it a little bit. So obviously teeth don't overlap your lips, so we're going to give that a mask, but we're going to group these two layers first by hitting Control G, calling them fangs. And then with this group selected, we're going to add a layer mask and go back to our brush tool with the letter B. Sorry, almost forgot to mention that. And zoom in and position. And we'll just paint over this right here. And paint over this right here. And paint in a little bit more. And that should automatically fade the tooth out so it looks like there's a little bit of shadow on it. So that should actually do it right there. Hit Control 0, zoom back out. And with that, you guys are done. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave some comments with new ideas or questions in the comment section below this video. And if you have any really huge, serious questions, go ahead and email me at brandon@checkit.com. And if you don't understand masking that well, be sure to check out our masking tutorial. And that should be able to give you a very good idea of how masking works and a good way to use it. Alright, with all that said, have a good day. See you next time.